Yeah. All right, looks as if it is 4 o'clock. We will call the October 11th Architecture Review Board to order. Steve, if you could call the roll, please.
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Joe Clark,
Present.
Alderperson Savaglio. Jerry Jones.
Here.
Richard Lindy, I think, did Richard say he was going to be absent today? Yeah, Richard was not going to be here. Pam.
Here.
Robert.
Here.
And Dave Aldag said he was going to be gone at this meeting as well, so we have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, so we will proceed. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under item 1.3, any potential conflicts of interest for board members? Bob is noting that there's an abacus project in front of us today, so he'll be abstaining on that one. Anything else from anyone? Oh, and Marcus is here. Thanks, Marcus. All right, and then we'll move to item 2.1, approval of the minutes from back on September 27th. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Item 3.1, the proposed exterior remodel of Sunnyside Daycare on 8th Street. Do we have anyone for that project here? I believe the city had put that on the agenda as a placeholder.
Yeah.
Hoping they would be able to come back after last meeting.
We'll just hold that for next
We
meeting.
will table that till
Or
the
until
next
when
one.
they have their
Yep.
materials ready.
Great, thanks. So that takes us to item 3.2, the proposed construction of a new addition at HTT, located at 1828 Oakland Avenue. If that team could come to the podium and just give us a real brief explanation of the project. We've got it, we can pull it up on the screens if there are specific drawings. But if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little about it, thanks.
Yeah, my name's Trent. I'm with Excel Engineering. It's a pretty straightforward 4,000 square foot building addition to an existing factory and manufacturing space. The exterior is painted precast with a CMU form liner to match the existing white CMU of the building. And I'm here to answer any further questions you might have. And then this is also Mark from HTT, who can speak on any further processing related to the building as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. This one seemed pretty straightforward. Steve?
Yeah, I could go through a couple of things here. If I could get the screens, please, Scott. This is an area where HTT is located on Union Avenue. The area that you can see with the arrow is where the new addition is. Presently, that area is used for storage purposes. So this is the area that we're looking at from the building perspective right now, where the fencing is. And that's the footprint of the area that the new structure is to be built on. And this just kind of shows that it's going to match up with the existing building. I think the applicant, if you want, can talk a little bit about its location and why they're going to be there, and if there's any other questions from a material standpoint. I know it looks like it's a different material than the block with the panel, but I think they were doing some things to make it match, and then I think there was a little taller addition that they can speak to as well.
Yeah, sure. Yes, the existing is CMU and the new is precast, but we're actually going to use a CMU form liner and match up the grout lines. So it will, from the exterior, look like a CMU and kind of match the existing materials. And as far as the location of the addition, there's an existing crane in the adjacent factory space that is going to eventually extend out into the new addition there and help move equipment and materials out into there. And there's going to be 2 new presses in the new building, so that's why the new addition is actually a little bit higher to accommodate the new presses that you can see on the floor plan there.
And the panelized material on the back faces, what was that?
That is painted white insulated metal panel. So that's actually up above on the back side, so it's not really visible. It's just to help insulate the new addition, and is also painted white, so kind of from far away it looks like everything is matching.
And would there be any other mechanicals or elements mounted on top of this roof?
I don't know if Mark can speak to that. Yeah, heating and cooling might be up on the roof, but that could also be tucked back on the existing roof potentially and off of visibility.
Typically, any of the rooftop units that would go up there, we would be looking for those to be screened.
Okay,
So if you could tuck them behind the addition so we can't see them, that would be great.
sure.
If they do need some sort of screening, because they're going to be visible on the roof, that would need to come back for at least staff approval on that.
Okay.
Given the sight lines and whatever screening you're using.
Sure.
Generally, this seemed to be in keeping with the existing building. It's a pretty industrial drive through here. It didn't seem out of place to me. There was nothing else that caught my eye. Any other questions or concerns from the board? I think you're,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no questions or concerns. I go by there every day. It's right by my house. So I'd make a motion to approve subject to recommendations.
great, thanks, Jerry. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's approved, subject to
Thank you.
conditions with the rooftop units.
Sure,
Reviewing
yep.
those with staff.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, 3.3, is the proposed construction of the Phase 2 riverfront condos on South Pier. Paul, I assume that's you. If you could come and introduce your team on that one and tell us what you're proposing for that project.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm here with Toby, the developer. This is phase 2 of an existing project. Phase 1 is built, I believe that is a 24-unit, 4-story apartment on South Riverfront Drive. Phase 2 would be very similar. That one is a 15-unit apartment building. Would be first floor parking with 3 floors of units above, so 4 stories as well. And we would be matching the same color scheme pretty much that's on the existing building with a slightly different material. The existing building has lap siding and a smart panel on it. We would be on our building going with all LP lap siding. They had some issues with the panel system that's on that building. As far as heights go, our building is a little bit taller due to taking the elevator up to an occupiable roof. Other than that, it should be very similar. I did bring some pictures here, just because we're having a hard time getting materials. But pass those out.
Thank you.
It is our intent to use the exact same masonry on the base. I have contacted, talked with Hein Construction, who got the brick from County Materials, and that brick is still available, so it's our intent to use that exact same brick. And then I also just put in there a view of the exterior of the existing building, so you can kind of see how our new one ties in. We are planning on using the same color grays, taking the darker gray up 2 floors and then the lighter gray on the top floor. The only difference being instead of the panel, we plan on doing that with the smart side lap siding. I I did bring a sample of that along, but it's used quite a bit, so everybody probably is pretty familiar with what that looks like.
I think the existing building's pretty successful, and this seems to carry on the themes nicely. I actually think the lap siding is possibly gonna look nicer than the panelized system did. I appreciate the color break for the tiering of the elements. The only question I had, and flagged by looking at the pictures of the existing building, your vents in relation to your building lighting, just making sure that you don't end up having your decorative lighting up any of those vent elements that are getting punched through.
You're
It's always
saying
one-
that the existing building highlights those.
I don't know that any of them highlight it, but you've got some where it's right between a couple of the vents. And then up above, they're centered, and I don't know if those are then casting shadows from those lights. I haven't gone looking for that. But just given that you've got some decorative lighting elements there, just making sure you don't defeat it by putting in some ugliness.
It'd be design build, we haven't gotten into all of that yet, but that's
Yeah,
something we'll certainly. pay
Just
attention
a CA element to keep track of. Otherwise, I thought it looked pretty good. I didn't have any other questions.
Did you want to say something, Tom?
No, I was just coming up in case there were questions.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
specific reasons why we made changes and how we did it.
You might want to just tell us a little bit about the last ones and that there's interest in this one and
Yeah,
just some things
so-
from that perspective.
Yeah, the last building was 21 units, and price point averaged probably right around 295,000, somewhere right around there. Somewhere a little bit more, somewhere a little bit less. They were all two-bedroom units. This is going to be all two-bedroom units, and our price point is probably going to be closer to about 400,000, with the top floor being 499,000. We already have two of the top floor gone, that people said, hey, based if we get approval, this is what they're willing to do. I've already got two other ones sold on other floors, which are on floor number 3. And some, things that we learned from this building compared to the last building was, one, having an accessible elevator to the roof, for that rooftop area. Wraparound balconies. Our last building had, I think, larger balconies than anything else that was built in Sheboygan. So now we've gone even bigger, wrapping it all the way around the corners. And that was a design element people really wanted. Garbage chutes and things like that we put inside this building that we didn't have in the last building. So just a lot of little details that we've learned from that building. We're going with Chapa Construction, a local contractor, so, we keep it local again. And that was one of our challenges with COVID-19 this past year was some supply chain issues, some contractor issues. But I think we've got a little bit in the clear from all of that. Yeah. And they all sold. So in fact, actually, we've had secondary sales now in Building 1 already, where we sold them for maybe $279, and now they've flipped them, for that 300 mark. So they've already gone up from what we sold them for. I think there's been 3 sales so far, and now there's a 4th one that's coming up. And so, yeah, I think we'll do real well on this building too, and I think the market's gonna demand that we just keep making them better and better. So we're adding more glass to it, better glass to it, as we said, better siding to it. You'll notice even in the garage, we've designed a garage within a garage. So for the penthouse people who want to have private parking, they can pull into the garage and then still have a garage inside, which I hadn't seen done anywhere before.
Super. I guess there was one other item in the comments, and that was with the Chamfered Corner. And what's happening with that? Has that been determined yet?
One of the things that we're working on, there's a little bit of a property line that we've been working with the applicant on, and we found out that there's no utilities in there. So the idea was either to allow them to lease that existing property, or if they wouldn't, they would kind of curve that deck in that, or angle that deck in that area. So that's something that is still being discussed between us and the applicant, trying to figure out, what's the best way of handling it, because if there's replatting, there's certain things that need to be done, there's certain things about crossing a property line with a building. So couple of things that need to be ironed out one way or the other, and that's why they bought both of those options in.
Marcus has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, which one are you, Mark?
How much property are we talking about crossing over here?
It's, I think about, I'm gonna guess, I don't know it right offhand, but I'm gonna say like 10 by 10,
10
a
foot by 10?
small corner, yeah.
Can you help me understand where that is?
Yeah, yep. So that would be, if you look at this site plan, you can see this small jog in this corner right here. So that presently is not part of the lease. So the idea would be to just straighten that out instead of having that jog.
What's there now?
Grass.
Why wasn't
I
it?
think what happened and the reason why that little jog was there, it kind of follows what used to be the sidewalk pattern.
Right.
And so they, I think, just kind of followed the sidewalk pattern when they ultimately created that land lease and that property division for us. Now that we're redoing that sidewalk's not going to be following that pattern anyway. And it just makes more sense to square it off and then keeps the space for the building to be squared off instead of having a weird angle.
Yeah, you can see you can see there's a sidewalk on the south side of the fish cleaning station. And then across the street on South Pier Drive, the idea was to have that come straight. And so that's why that angle is in that area. So we didn't have these discussions. We didn't know that we would be dealing with this situation. So the idea is, hey, let's get them both approved. If we can work on something that works for them, we'll get that squared off and deal with the sidewalk around that area. And there's still room to do that.
Thank you. One follow-up question for the developer. Are you moving to Sheboygan full-time now? Are you going to become a resident with this second phase?
I am. I'm actually, when this is done, we'll be moving down to the top corner floor, that corner right where you're talking about.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Welcome to Sheboygan.
Yeah.
Bob, last chance to tell Paul to do something different.
No other questions. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve, subject to staff recommendations. I think a hallmark of this is the last time we were here for the first building, we had about 30 people in the room. This time, 0. So it looks like you did a really good job on the first one.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Wonderful. That passes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Brings us to our item 3.4, the proposed construction of the new addition at the Tidy Store facility on 14th Street. If you could introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you're proposing, please.
Good afternoon, Chad Reichelt, CR Structures Group, here on behalf of the Tidy Store, as well as we will be the design builder for the project. Challenging little project. The owner would like to expand his facility to include additional indoor storage, a small takeout restaurant, and additional beer coolers and frozen food cooler. So the site currently extremely small to fit such an addition on. However, I think we have a good plan to accommodate both the owner and the city requirements. So with the addition, we will be bringing in stormwater, new sewer lateral off of the side street, that one on the bottom.
Wisconsin.
Yep. So there will be road patching as part of this project. The existing front facade, we're not doing as part of this project. It's not part of our scope of work. He did redo it 3 or 4 years ago. Obviously, we know what it looks like and what the feeling is towards it. Our materials, we're gonna match the existing red masonry, but our material above the red masonry will be ephes and/or a hardy lap siding. So a combination of those two materials in lieu of the horizontal exposed fastener metal panel.
Steve, there were quite a few staff comments on this one. Do you want to run through your thoughts on
Sure,
those?
sure. I think a couple of the comments just, and some of them will be discussed at Plan Commission tomorrow with regards to just the site in and of itself in terms of just cleaning up some of the things that we thought were gonna take place when the liquor store was getting done with the addition. I think a couple of the questions that we had, that west elevation looks like it's gonna be, so that's facing 15th Street. That's gonna be ephes with, you know, a little bit of the wainscot on the bottom. And the question was, with the additions, both north, south, north along the alley by Dumas and south along Wisconsin by the residential property to the south, whether or not those areas you wanted to see with the metal as, and on the north side, they're showing the vertical metal to match what was there. And on the south side, they're showing the horizontal to match what was there. And so they're doing all ephes on the back, and I didn't know whether or not the board would prefer to see what they have, or if they'd like to see the ephes wrap those two additional elevations. So that was just kind of a general comment about, you know, the facility.
Chad,
So
did you
I
say
can
it's
comment.
not the horizontal metal?
I can
It's-
comment to that just a
Okay.
little bit. So we are willing to, the bottom elevation, I don't know what direction that is.
South.
South. So we are willing to do ephes in lieu of the metal panel on that side for sure.
Okay.
The north side, because it's an alley, I don't think it really deserves ephes or something that's more expensive than a metal building panel on that side, quite frankly. It's not gonna be seen except for people that drive the alley.
Just trying to get that.
The home decor store blocks the view of that from both streets that are perpendicular to the alley.
Gotcha.
So we would be painting the existing steel to match the new steel, like that whole side will be uniform. We're not just gonna leave the existing rusty steel. It will all be painted, most likely a dark charcoal to match the ephes, so the ephes color and the vertical steel siding color will be the same color.
So then it really just comes down to, you know, that south elevation that faces those residences. You know, I don't know if there's a preference by the applicant, if they had something, but it was just one of those ones to, anything, are you taking a look at, are you looking for a picture of that south side, Joe?
I was just looking for that alley spacing with Dumas
Yeah,
decor there.
basically the alley looks like that.
Yeah.
Basically looks like the south side right now.
Yeah, I don't think I have a problem with the north side
Okay.
panels.
Oh, right, is that it right there? Back up 3.
Yes, I did have a couple of other detail questions. On the east elevation, at that south end, you're showing your brick wainscot with a soldier course camp to it. And then that east elevation showing a pretty significant setback to your siding above. So right in here, Steve. That seemed like a strange detail that wasn't showing up at the other transitions where you've got the
Meaning the
wainscot
masonry on
tab.
the existing building goes to the top of the door frame and we're going to the bottom of the window frame? Or, I guess I'm not following that.
I guess what I'm questioning is looks like the existing building, you're matching the soldier course, but the soldier course and the existing has brick above.
Correct.
You're showing a setback that's more than the soldier course depth. So wondering how that's capped, or if that's just drawn incorrectly. You know, that's showing like 3 bricks of the soldier course projecting out past the face of the wall up above.
Oh, can you zoom in on that? I'm sure it's just a graphical error. It would be a traditional soldier course held out, a 1/4 inch beyond the bond.
Okay. And I wasn't sure if the existing building had,
You're looking for a particular view?
I was just looking to see what the transition element was there. I guess it's just the.
Yeah, so
the
so
brick
currently
flashing
the facade
over it.
masonry was basically just put in front of the existing steel. So at that corner, if that's what you're looking for, like the southeast corner, the masonry like right there.
Right here?
Yeah. So that brick is just out in front of the existing gray vertical metal. All the materials were just put on in front of the existing materials.
Okay. And it does look as if there is a metal flashing over the masonry.
Yeah.
So I guess if that detail were
So-
similar.
I mean, we have to do something with the remainder of that wall. So we'll have to match, we'll have to put the brick in plane with that existing brick on that wall. But then once we get to new construction, it will be, more standard means and methods of application and flashing.
Okay. And then it looks as if on that west elevation, there's a parapet at either end.
Yes, so the alley side, we were not planning on doing a parapet, but all of, the addition on the east side and south side would have a parapet, along with
So-
a new parapet built on top of the existing west wall to clean that up. Existing south wall, excuse me.
So
Yeah,
on the
right.
north elevation, scroll back up to that one, the addition is shown with a horizontal. I believe that's
Yeah, so
drawn as a parapet that doesn't show up
Yeah, I
in the
think
west
these are a
elevation.
little bit older of drawings, but
So that parapet goes away, that would actually
So
be
we
a
would match the slope of that roof.
detail. Okay,
the intent would be to match the slope of that existing roof on the alley side. Again, just trying not to add too much
yeah.
too much value to that alley side and spend it on the other 3 sides, to be honest.
And to the city's question about the clutter on the site and tidying that up, that was one of the things that I think in the last project
Correct.
we'd been told was going to happen.
Which is in progress. So, speaking about Amstar, in progress.
Okay,
I think
Yeah, and
some-
and I've been talking to CR Structures on behalf of the applicant and letting them know, that obviously some of that stuff would hold up building permit issuance and different things like that. Plan Commission will probably address some of that tomorrow, but it was just one of those things. So Jeff and I have been talking and the others from CR and they have a understanding of what needs to be done. And they've come in with like the ephes and different things on the west elevation based on some of the redevelopment that's occurring in that area with the, the condos and the hotel and things like that. So they've brought in some designs that we thought better address that west elevation.
I'm sure it'll come up tomorrow more in the other meeting, but the fact that that whole west elevation is basically gonna be covered by a landscape barrier, which is gonna be required to separate this commercial zone property from the residential zone property that is further to the west, correct?
And that's correct too.
So really, not a lot of that will even be visible once that landscape barrier grows in.
And then I think there was talk on this one for the kitchen exhaust
Yeah,
equipments and mechanicals that I'm not seeing on the
Yep,
elevations.
so it's understood that we'll have to screen. The only thing that should be on the roof is the exhaust for the hood, potentially an MUA. But we are doing a furnace, so that will not be on the roof. We're gonna hang a furnace in the storage room. So that will not, we'll have no other elements on the roof besides the exhaust for the hood.
Yeah, those can sometimes get pretty ugly. So just locating that, siting it. If
So
you
that's
need
part of the
screening.
reason we're doing the parapet on that south elevation. And then we'll just have to screen it from the west side because that'll be lower. It'll be tucked up kind of in between or as high as we can so that the taller building actually disguises it from
Okay.
the north side as well.
I guess at a minimum, I guess I'd want that to come back to staff, just to confirm that as part of the approval.
Yeah, the parapet wall will also help cover the existing mechanicals that are on that existing building.
Yeah, it's a tough site and it's getting tidied up, but it's still
Yeah,
kind of messy. I guess anything we can do to encourage the owner to, with this being a section of the city that's getting updated and trying to improve it any chance we get, anything they can do to help with that would be appreciated.
and I think under a separate review also, he is doing the canopy and the pumps. Not part of ours, but I just thought I'd throw that out there that there's gonna be some additional improvements besides what we're trying to do.
Great. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes, I'm just looking for clarification. The south side, you have horizontal metal siding similar to what's there today? And then at the corner, you're changing the ephes?
Well,
On the west
so
side?
initially we thought that matching materials would be the best option. After discussion with Steve, we thought that maybe ephes would be a better alternative because
Okay,
the horizontal metal panel, quite frankly, does not look that great.
so the whole addition will be ephes and brick?
ephes and brick,
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
except for the north alley wall.
Yeah, right.
Could I ask one thing, Joe?
Go ahead, Steve.
If we're approving, we definitely want to get a drawing that's updated, to show what is going to be built.
And I can have that by tomorrow.
Sounds good. Get the, Jerry, I think he has.
Jerry?
Yeah, I think originally when I looked at the plan, I saw where you were going, trying to match it to make it look somewhat better, or at least agreeable, but I like the ephes idea better because you're right, the north wall, I get, nobody's gonna really see that unless they go out of their way, but these two will be high visibility sites, so I appreciate the effort you put in there. So I would move to approve, subject to the staff recommendations of the updated plans, and then the rooftop screening would come back potentially only to staff.
Great, a very clear motion, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved, subject to those
Thank you.
staff revisions.
Good luck, buddy.
Great, thank you very much.
Yep, see you tomorrow.
Any additional discussion item?
We'll have a meeting on October 25th.
Super.
Good to know.
Well, not, you will, all right, thanks for letting me know. Pam and Marcus will not be here. Trying to think if Aldig said he wasn't gonna be here. Okay, thanks for letting me know. So I'll let you guys
For the rest
know.
of us, if we can respond as quickly as possible to Lene when she sends out.
Bob,
Questions?
Jerry, Joe, and then we'd probably have to, see what's up with Dick. Are you gonna,
I'll be here.
you'll be here, okay,
Yeah, I should be.
all right. Yeah, because we have something.
And maybe the sunny side coming back through as
Yeah,
well.
possibly, we'll see.
We'll see. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.